You're listening to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda Allyn Horsemanship, where we discuss training wins and fails, mindset, personal growth, and everything in between. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or Reins and let's ride. Hey there, it's Miranda Allyn, and welcome back to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude. Today, I wanted to cover a piece of equipment. And this is a piece of equipment that I think gets overlooked more than anything in the world. And I feel that it's going to be the biggest thing that's going to influence your riding. Now, you will hear me and other horse trainers out there preach and preach until we're blue in the face about how important it is to stay clear in your communication with your horse. Because soft hands don't make soft horses. Clear, consistent communication does. And how understanding the release of pressure and how to use it is just as important when training your horse. You can notice the slightest try right away all day long, but if your horse is not feeling you release that pressure, you're never going to get a super soft and willing horse. There is one piece of equipment that I see almost every rider struggle with in one way or another, including me, and this will contribute to interfering with clear communication, clear pickup and releases more than any other piece of equipment on that horse. And that is your reins. I constantly see riders fumbling with their reins ride after ride. Having a pair of reins that doesn't fit you or your horse and having you find yourself constantly fumbling with them during your entire ride is the quickest way to kill your confidence and to piss off your horse. You'll start doubting your ability to being able to stay in control because you're more worried about what you're doing with your hands than actually paying attention to where you're going, what you're actually asking your horse to do, and how he's even responding, let alone how you're responding. Then your ride starts to get sloppy and bad habits form. There is nothing better than having a good set of reins. They truly are worth their weight in gold. I have ridden in all sorts of reins. Split reins, single reins, skinny reins, fat reins, leather reins, nylon reins, wax reins, and cotton reins. In the past, I have liked different reins for different disciplines. A long leather rein for training and a short fat cotton one for running barrels. But now, as I've developed a more advanced solid feel, nothing beats thick, heavy reins to me. Heavier reins will allow your horse to feel the pickup and the release so much quicker and clearly, which will help build on utilizing the release of pressure to your advantage when training. If you don't like leather reins, that's fine. It really doesn't matter what material your reins are made out of as long as you add some sort of heavy snap on the end so that the horse can feel the weight of the pickup and the release as quickly as possible. The length of the reins also matters, especially with single reins. You don't want them too short where you're constantly leaning forward trying to compensate for the horse lowering his head, because all that's going to do is throw your center of gravity forward and throw you off balance to your horse, which then is going to throw your horse off balance. I think this is the most common thing that I see all the time, especially for riders who are using those cheap nylon single reins. There's nothing wrong with them, but just get off your butt and lengthen them. It'll take 2 minutes and it's going to save you so much headache. And if you have split reins, you don't need to worry about them being too long unless you're riding like a pony or something and they're dragging the ground. But a good pair of split reins can give you so many options. You have different thicknesses, weighted versus unweighted, and different lengths. And when you're riding, there is also so much more room for where you can place your hands to allow a different feel to your horse's mouth. You can widen your hands, you can lift them individually more easily, you can bring them into the center. There's just so many more options with split reins. Now, a huge red flag for me is when somebody who rides on a regular basis has reins that are either cracked, dry rotted, they don't sit well on the bit because they're too wide, or my favorite is their split reins are tied in a knot to make them into single reins. Now that is fine if it's just a quick ride for somebody who is inexperienced and you just don't want them to drop the reins. But if you are riding 24/7 with that, just get a pair of single reins in. They're actually cheaper and they're going to function a heck of a lot better for you. Although the mouth should never be the brakes, the reins are the lifeline to the computer controlling this ride, which so happens to control your steering wheel and brakes. Why would you put yourself in danger by using a faulty steering wheel that could break at any moment because you don't condition your leather reins or cause nothing but restrictions and headaches? I hear all the time by people that they're uncomfortable riding in split reins because they're always fumbling with them. Yeah, it's not gonna be comfortable learning a new skill set, and that's exactly what it is. You're learning a new skill set riding in split reins. If you're just an occasional rider, whatever's easiest for you. But I get this a lot with people who are regular riders who say that they want to grow their horsemanship, which includes learning how to collect up and move the horse's 5 main body parts every which way. You have to be able to have adjustable reins to give clear, consistent signals. And this will not happen unless you practice, period. So try out different kinds of reins, preferably higher quality. Doesn't matter the material, but just get a higher quality rein because I promise there is actually a big difference, especially with leather reins. And just play around with them until you find what feels good and works for you. I actually used to prefer to ride my mare in a pair of English braided leather single reins with a snap on the end, as they seemed to work a little bit better for her because they were longer than leather roping reins and she had a naturally low headset. I've also always liked split reins, and I've ridden many horses across the country in many, many different pairs of leather split reins while working for the different trainers. But I could never find one that had the right feeling for me, and I did fumble with them often. For the longest time, I preferred to ride in a little bit skinnier of a split rein. However, I did recently ride in a pair of heavy leather split reins on my friend's horse, and that was by far the absolute best pair of reins that I have ever felt in my entire life. I literally had to message her one night because I'm like, listen, I need to know what brand those reins are because I need to go buy a pair right now. I cannot stop thinking about them. She laughed and said that they were Tusky's Herman Oak split reins. They were 8 feet long, but they were weighted, and they were actually 3/4 of an inch thick. I was honestly surprised that I liked the thicker reins, but combined with the weightedness of it, for whatever reason, they just were like butter in my hands. And they were so well oiled and so soft and flexible. I am like, take my money, Tuskies, because I will be definitely buying a pair of these because they literally did improve my riding. They had such an amazing feel. And because I wasn't fumbling around, I was able to stay super clear and consistent with my cues. And after discussing these reins with my friends, I do think perhaps it was the weighted end with the wider thickness that made the magic combination for me. And I would have never known that that's what would have worked for me had I not just happened to randomly ride with that pair of reins that weekend. And this is why I encourage people, try new things. Don't be afraid to change it up. Sometimes the slightest thing can make the largest difference. So tell me, what are your favorite pair of reins and why? Send me a message, comment on a Facebook post. I would love to hear because I'm always open to hearing new ideas and giving them a try. Thanks for tuning in to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda Allyn Horsemanship. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend who loves horses as much as we do. And while you're at it, be sure to check out my website, mirandaallyn.net, that's ALLYN, to stay updated on the launch of my upcoming online course, Essentials of Horsemanship. And until next time, remember, horsemanship is in the details.